Hi guys, welcome back to English 2. So today we are going to be covering the rest of Act 3, so that's going to be both scenes 2 and 3. Scene 2 will be the eulogy section. A eulogy will be given both by Brutus and by Antony, but with two very different purposes in mind. And remember, we talked about purposes of language back in, oh god, would have been Animal Farm. Now we can use rhetorical strategies, repetition, rhetorical questions, parallel thought, things like that. And so you're going to see that kind of play out again here if you remember any of that. All right. As always, I am joined by my lovely assistant, Maggie. Although her ears are bothering her today. They've been bothering her for about a week now. We took her to the vet, but it's not getting any better. Update on my family, nobody has shown any symptoms of COVID, which has been really a positive. I will say, just keep my family in your thoughts. My grandmother is nervous. She does have a fever right now. She's like 74. So just kind of keep her in your thoughts. We're not sure if it's anything like that, but any more now you can get a little anxious just with a fever. All right. So you are welcome to head on over to Classroom with me and read alongside me. As always, I have both the reading and the questions ready on my iPad, which will be projected on the screen here in a moment. Maggie, shh, quiet. And we're going to go through the reading together. I tried to do a live stream of this reading yesterday. Unfortunately, it just didn't go like I had wanted. So the group and I decided we would hold off and have it be something that I would work on it elsewhere. Maggie, stop. Okay, just because it wasn't really working out like I had hoped. I had hoped we would be able to make it work. It just unfortunately, due to some connectivity issues on my end and a few other people's ends, Maggie, stop. It just didn't work out, which happens. Failure is a part of life, unfortunately, and we live and we learn, so it is what it is. All right, so I'm going to switch my scene and head on over to here. All right, so if you are with me, you should see the questions. Now, the beauty of this section's questions, Maggie, stop. Maggie, stop. Come on. It's weird. Stop. Is that a lot of these are multiple choice. So if you are somebody who does not love to type, you are in luck today because we are covering a lot of material and it's all basically multiple choice. So Caesar is now dead. They're going to be starting off. Remember at the end of Act 3, Scene 1, Brutus really wanted to give Antony a chance to speak, but Antony can only speak after Brutus has spoken. All right. And so he makes the effort to think he's in charge and he allows Antony to speak at Brutus Caesar's funeral. Make you stop. Sorry, she's just being a lot today. And so we're going to kind of take off from there. So this is going to be Caesar's like funeral. All right. So Scene 2, enter Brutus and Cassius with the plebeians. All right, plebeians, we will be satisfied. Let us be satisfied. So plebeians are just the common folk of Rome. All right. I'm not going to set a timer today, just so you're aware, because I am anticipating this might take longer than 20 minutes, but it'll be the video that I'll cover tomorrow as well. But remember, all questions are due by midnight tomorrow. All right. Plebeians or Romans, we will be satisfied. Let us be satisfied. Brutus, then follow me and give audience friends. Cassius, go into the other street and part the numbers. Those that will hear me speak, let them stay here. Those that follow Cassius, go with him. So both Brutus and Cassius are going to speak, and public reasons shall be rendered of Caesar's death. They're like, we're going to explain our thought process as to why we just murdered Caesar, a beloved potential ruler of Rome. And the first plebeian is like, I will hear Brutus speak. And another guy's like, I will hear Cassius and compare their reasons when severally we heard them render it. Cassius exits with some of the plebeians, Romans. Brutus goes to the pulpit. And the third plebeian goes, the noble Brutus is ascended. Silence. Remember, Brutus is well loved in Rome and he loves Rome too. All right. And so he kind of uses that piece of information to his advantage. So Brutus says, be patient till the last, Romans, countrymen, and lovers. Hear me for my cause, and be silent that you may hear. Believe me, for mine honor, then have respect mine honor, that you may believe. Censure me in your wisdom, and awake your senses, that you may be better judge. If there be any in this assembly, any dear friend of Caesar's, to him I say that Brutus's love to Caesar was no less than his. If then that friend demanded why Brutus rose against Caesar. So if anybody wonders why Brutus, who loved Caesar, rose against him, this is my answer. Not that I loved Caesar less, but that I loved Rome more. Remember, Brutus loves Rome. He believes that what he is doing is the best thing for Rome. Had you rather Caesar were living and die all slaves than that Caesar were dead to live all freemen? As Caesar loved me, I weep for him. As he was fortunate, I rejoice it. As he was valiant, I honor him. But he was ambitious, and I slew him. There is tears for his love, joy for his fortune, honor for his valor, and death for his ambition. Who here is so base that would be a bondman, if any speak for him that I have offended? Who is here so rude that would not be a Roman, if any speak for him that I have offended? Who here is so vile that will not love his country? If any, speak for him that I have offended, and I will pause for reply. Okay, so see, but Brutus acknowledges here that he slew Caesar because of Caesar's ambition. He believes that Caesar wanted to basically tyrannize Rome, and so he killed him for it. All right. He also implies that those that disagree with the assassination would rather be a slave, would rather not be a Roman, and specifically, they don't love their country. If they believe that that by choosing to not kill Caesar, that means that they wouldn't love their country, because Brutus is like, I killed for you. All right. Brutus, and then the plebeians or the Romans replied, none, Brutus, none, none, then none I have offended. I have done no more to Caesar than you shall do to Brutus. The question of his death is enrolled in this capital. His glory is not extenuated, wherein he was worthy, nor his offenses enforced, for which he suffered for death. Enter Mark Antony with the others and Caesar's body. Here comes his body, mourned by Mark Antony, who, though he had no hand in his death, shall be received the benefit of his dying, a place in the commonwealth. And which of you shall not? With this I depart, that I slew my best lover for the good of Rome. I have the same dagger for myself, when it shall please the country to need my death. Okay? Brutus believes wholeheartedly that ultimately we should be willing, leaders should be willing to die for their country, like almost a captain that would go down with his ship. All right? And so he's like, you know, I did what was best for Rome, and if Rome determined that killing me was the best thing that needed to happen, then that would be acceptable. All right. Plebeians say, live, Brutus, live, live. The first plebeian, bring him triumph home unto his house. Plebeian, give him a statue with his ancestors. Third plebeian, let him be Caesar. Fourth plebeian, Caesar's better parts shall be crowned in Brutus. So he's like, well, you know, let him be Caesar, yes, but the better parts of Julius Caesar are actually found in Brutus. The first plebeian says, we will bring him home to his house with shouts and clamors. Brutus says, my countrymen. Second plebeian, peace ho. Brutus speaks. First plebeian, peace ho. All right, so immediately the people of Rome were on Brutus's side. They're like, oh, okay, we get it, we get it. This should remind you a lot of Animal Farm, and when the animals always agreed with whoever spoke last. So here we do see like that Brutus spoke first, and so the current group agrees with Brutus here. And then Brutus says, good countrymen, let me depart alone, and for my sake stay here with Antony. Okay, so he leaves. He leaves with Antony, and Antony has two rules. He is not permitted to speak ill of the conspiracy, and he is only allowed to speak positively of Caesar. Do grace Caesar's corpse and grace his speech, tending to Caesar's glories, which Mark Antony, by our permission, is allowed to make. And he says that by the permission of the conspiracy. All right, I do entreat you, not a man depart, save alone I, till Antony spoke. And then Brutus descends from the pulpit and leaves. And the first plebeian's like, stay ho, let us hear Mark Antony. And the third plebeian's like, let him go into the public chair. Plebeians will hear him. Noble Antony, go up. Antony, for Brutus's sake I am beholding to you. And he goes to the pulpit. The fourth plebeian, what does he say of Brutus? Third plebeian, he says for Brutus's sake he finds himself beholding to all of us. The fourth plebeian, 'twere best he speak no harm of Brutus here. The first plebeian, this Caesar was a tyrant. Third plebeian, nay, that's certain. We are blessed that Rome is rid of him. Second plebeian, peace. Let us hear what Antony has to say. Antony, you gentle Romans. All of the plebeians, peace ho, let us hear him. All right, and then this next part of this speech, this is probably the most famous set of lines that exists in this particular play. Okay, so he says, friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears. I come to bury Caesar, not to praise him. The evil that men do in their lives, the good is often interred with their bones. So it be with Caesar. The noble Brutus hath told you that Caesar was ambitious. If it were so, it were a grievous fault. And grievously hath Caesar answered it. Here, under leave of Brutus and the rest, for Brutus is an honorable man, so are they all honorable men. Come I to speak at Caesar's funeral. He was my friend, faithful, just to me. But Brutus says he was ambitious, and Brutus is an honorable man. He hath brought many captives home to Rome, whose ransoms did the general coffers filled. Did this in Caesar seem ambitious? So he's like, he brought home people to Rome, and he used the ransoms of those people from other countries, like people that he brought home and put ransoms on. He used the money that the other countries paid to get their people back to fill the coffers or fill the bank for the people. And then when the poor cried, Caesar wept. Ambition should be made of sterner stuff. But yet Brutus says he was ambitious, and Brutus is an honorable man. All right, so he says, when the poor weep, Caesar wept. All right, and then Brutus, and you all did see on Lupercal, I thrice presented him with a kingly crown, which he thrice refused. Was this ambition? Yet Brutus says he was ambitious. And sure, he is an honorable man. I do not speak to disprove what Brutus spoke, but here I am to speak to you that I do know. You all did love him once, not without cause. What cause withholds you then to mourn for him? O judgment, thou art fled to brutish beasts, and men have lost their reason. Bear with me. My heart is in the coffin there with Caesar, and I must pause till it comes back to me. And he cries. All right, and so he's like, well, if Caesar's ambitious, so if Caesar's looking to, actually, let's look up what the term ambition means, just so I make sure I have the right one. Ambition. Okay, ambition is a strong desire to achieve or do something, to achieve success. All right, so he's saying like Caesar was so focused on becoming king that he wasn't, it wasn't a good thing. All right, and so he's like, well, the people of Rome offered him a crown 3 times and he turned it down. He's like, and so you're telling me that means he was ambitious? He's like, I don't think that that's true at all. All right. And the first plebeian says, methinks there is much reason in his sayings. The second plebeian, if thou consider rightly of the manner, Caesar has had a great wrong. Okay, so Antony's managing to turn the people against the conspiracy without saying anything bad about them. I mean, he keeps saying that Brutus is an honorable man, but do you really think he believes that Brutus is an honorable man? All right. So you should, you can answer 4, and then, I have this mismarked. So, hi, Mort. Okay. So this is 4. Okay, we're going to get to 5 here in a second. Okay, so methinks there's much reason in his sayings. If thou consider right in his manner, Caesar hath great wrong. Has he, masters? I fear there is worse to come in his place. Mark his words, would not take the crown. Therefore, 'tis certain he was not ambitious. So Antony's managed to turn the people against what Brutus initially said. If it be so, some will dear abide it. Second plebeian, poor soul, his eyes are fire with weeping. And third plebeian, there is not a nobler man in Rome than Antony. Fourth plebeian, now mark him, he begins to speak again. All right. The Antony is going to drop kind of a big bomb on the people of Rome. He says, but yesterday the word of Caesar's might have stood against the world. Now he lies here, and none so poor to do him reverence. O masters, if I were disposed to stir your hearts and minds to mutiny and rage, I should do Brutus wrong and Cassius wrong. He's like, if I could stir you to rage and mob mentality. All right. He's like, but I wouldn't do that. That would be wrong. Okay. So, you would have been able to answer number 6 here too. Okay. All right. He says, who you all know are honorable men. I will not do them wrong. I should rather chose I rather choose to wrong the dead, to wrong myself and you, than I will wrong such honorable men. But here's a parchment with the seal of Caesar. I found it in his closet. 'Tis his will, like his actual will, like the stuff you give to people when you die. Let but the commons hear this testament, which part of me I do not mean to read. He's like, I have this will, but I'm not going to read it to you. He's like, it's like when you tell your friend you have a secret, but you can't tell them the secret. You're like, I know something, but I'm not allowed to tell you. All right. Let the commons hear this testament, which part of me I do not mean to read. And they would go and kiss Caesar's wounds and dip their napkins in his sacred blood, yea, beg a hair of him for memory, and dying mention it within their wills, bequeathing it as a rich legacy upon their issue. So Caesar's leaving parts of Rome to the Romans, all right? And so number 5 would be answered here, okay? And then the 4th plebeian says, we'll hear the will. Read it, Mark Antony. And the plebeians say, the will, we will hear Caesar's will. Have patience, gentle friends. I must not read it. Okay, he's like, I can't tell you. It is not meet, you know, Caesar loved you. You are not wood, you are not stones, but men. And being men, hearing the will of Caesar, it will inflame you. It will make you mad. 'Tis good you should know not that you are his heirs. Okay, he's like, so he has given you things. 'Tis good that you should not, for if you should, oh, what would come of it? Okay, so once again, that is going to be number 5. And we can start looking at number 7, where he uses reverse psychology. So Antony here uses a lot of reverse psychology. He keeps telling them, like, well, I can't stir you to rebellion. I can't do that. But I mean, if you knew what was in this will, you might be angry enough to, fight against the conspirators. But I can't tell you to do that. And the 4th plebeian's like, read the will, we'll hear it, Antony. And the plebeians are like, you shall read us the will, Caesar's will. And he says, will you be patient? Will you stay a while? I have overshot myself to tell you of it. I fear I wronged the honorable men whose daggers have stabbed Caesar. I fear it. He's like, I fear that I've said too much, against the men who killed Caesar, the man who's going to leave you things here in Rome. 4th plebeian. They were traitors, honorable men. The will, the testament, they were villains, murderers. The will, read the will. Antony, you compel me to read the will? Then make a ring around the corpse of Caesar and let me show you what made the will. Shall I descend? Will you give me leave? So he's going to come down and talk to the people, and the plebeians say, come down. The 2nd plebeian, descend. The 3rd plebeian, you shall leave. Antony descends. 4th plebeian, a ring, stand round. 1st plebeian, stand aside from the hearse, stand from the body. 2nd plebeian, room for Antony, most noble Antony. Antony, press not so upon me, stand far off. His plebeians, back, give him room. All right. So we're going to look at 7, 8, and 9 here, and then we'll be done with this scene, and there's only 2 questions for the next one, okay? So Antony says, if you have tears, prepare to shed them now. You all know this mantle. I remember the first time Caesar ever put it on. It was a summer's evening in his tent, the day he overcame Nervi. Look, and in his place ran Cassius's dagger through. See what rent the envious Casca made. Though this well-beloved Brutus stabbed, and as he plucked his cursed steel away, mark how the blood of Caesar followed it, as rushing out of doors to be resolved, if Brutus so unkindly knocked, or no, for Brutus, as you know, was Caesar's angel. Judge, O you gods, how dearly Caesar loved him. This was the most unkindest cut of all, for when the noble Caesar saw him stab, ingratitude more strong than traitor's arms quite vanquished in him, then burst his mighty heart, and in his mantle muffling up his face, even at the base of Pompey's statue, which, while the blood ran, great Caesar fell. Oh, what a fall was there, my countrymen. And then I and you, all of us fell down, whilst bloody treason flourished over us. Treason means to turn against your own country. Oh, now you weep, I perceive you feel the dint of pity, these gracious drops. Kind souls, what weep you when you but behold our Caesar's vestured wound. Look here. So remember how Antony in the previous scene goes through and he names each conspirator? That's because he wanted to remember them for later. And he names them here so that people know who's responsible for Caesar's death. The overly unambitious Caesar who gives out, he's made Rome the heirs of his fortune if he dies. He refuses the crown. I mean, was Caesar ambitious? Antony lifts Caesar's cloak, hear himself marred as you see with traitors. And he even points out that Brutus's treason was even more hurtful than any of the others. All right, first plebeian, oh, piteous spectacle. Second, oh, noble Caesar. Third, oh, woe. Fourth plebeian, traitors, villains. Okay, so see how the language is changing here. First plebeian, oh, most bloody sight. Second plebeian, we will be revenged. Plebeians, revenge about, seek, burn, fire, kill, slay. Let not a traitor live. So they're turned, okay? He has totally managed to do this here. This number 7, okay? All right, he has managed. He's like, I can't tell you to start a rebellion, but I mean, if you wanted to. Antony's like, no, stay, countrymen. First plebeian, peace here, hear the noble Antony. Second plebeian, we'll hear him, we'll follow him, we'll die with him. Everybody's all about dying in this play. Have you noticed that? Antony, good friends, sweet friends, let me not stir you up. So he's like, I don't want to stir you up to a sudden flood of mutiny. He's like, but that's exactly what he's trying to do here. They that have done this deed are honorable. What private griefs they have, alas, I know not. What made them do it? They are wise and honorable, and will no doubt with the reasons answer you. I come not, friends, to steal away your hearts. I am no orator as Brutus is, but as you know me all, a plain, blunt man, that loved my friend, and that they know full well that gave me public leave to speak, for I have neither wit nor words nor worth, action nor utterance, nor the power of speech to stir men's blood. Okay, so he's like, I can't stir you to rebellion. Like, once again, I only speak right now to tell you that yourselves you know not. Show you, sweet Caesar limbs, poor dumb mouth, and bid them speak for me. But were I Brutus, and Brutus Antony, there were an Antony would ruffle up your spirits and put a tongue in every wound of Caesar that would move the stones of Rome to rise immunity. He's like, well, if I were Brutus, I would stir you to mutiny with this cause. And plebeians are like, we'll mutiny. And the first plebeian's like, we're going to burn down the house of Brutus. And the third plebeian's like, oh, wait, then come and seek the conspirators. And Antony says, yet hear me, countrymen. Yet hear me speak. Plebeians, peace ho! Antony, most noble Antony. Antony, why, friends, you go, you do not know what. Wherein hath Caesar thus deserved your loves? Alas, you know not. I must tell you then. You have to forget what I told of you. Most true. The will. Let us stay and hear the will. Okay, so they want to hear what Caesar has left to them. And he says, here's the will, and under Caesar's seal to every Roman citizen, he gives to every several men 75 drachmas. Now, I don't know how much a drachma is worth, but he is giving everybody like 75 drachmas, which sounds like enough money. I mean, if that were $100, shoot. Second plebeian says, most noble Caesar will revenge his death. Third, O royal Caesar, Antony, hear me with patience. Plebeians, peace ho! Moreover, he had left you all of his walks, his private arbors, his newly planted orchards. On this side of the Tiber, he have left them to you, and to your heirs forever, common pleasures to walk around and recreate yourselves. Here was a Caesar. When comes another? He's like, so Caesar actually left everything that he loved. So like all of his gardens, all of his walkways, all of his arbors, all of his orchards to Rome. And the first plebeian's like, never, never come away. And then we'll burn his body in the holy place. And the brands, the fire, traitors' houses, and take up the body. So they're going to like go burn down the traitors' houses, the conspiracies' houses. And the second plebeian says, go fetch fire. Third plebeian, pluck down benches. And the fourth plebeian says, pluck down forms, windows, anything. And the plebeians exit with Caesar's body. So they grab Caesar's body and run. And he says, now let it work. Mischief thou art afoot. Take what course thou wilt. Enter a servant. How now, fellow? Servant, Sir Octavius has already come to Rome, so Octavius is going to be Antony's backup. Antony says, where is he? Servant, he and Lepidus are at Caesar's house, Antony, and thither I will straight to him. Here comes upon a wish. Fortune is merry, and in his mood will give us anything. And the servant says, I heard him say that Brutus and Cassius are rid like madmen through the gates of Rome. So Brutus and Cassius have now fled Rome. All right, be like they had some notice of the people, how I have moved them. Bring me Octavius. All right, so that ends scene 2. So we're going to head to this section here, just these last 2 questions down at the bottom. I'll move this up. All right, it's a really short scene, so don't spot it. So he's managed to enrage the people so much that they're gonna go like crazy. So in scene 3, enter Cinna. So Cinna was one of the conspirators, but this is the different Cinna. This is Cinna the poet. So enter Cinna the poet, and after him the plebeians. And Cinna says, I dreamt tonight that I did feast with Caesar, and things unlucky charge my fantasy. I have no will to wander forth of doors, yet something leads me forth. He's like, I don't think this is a good thing, but I left because I feel like I need to. And the first plebeian says, what is your name? And the second plebeian says, whither are you going? So where are you going? And the third one's like, where do you dwell? Where do you live? And he's like, are you a married man or a bachelor? And the second one goes, I answer every man directly. First, I briefly. Fourth, I and wisely. Third, I and truly your best. Cinna says, what is my name? Whither am I going? Where do I dwell? Am I married or bachelor? Then answer every man directly and briefly, wisely and truly. Wisely I say, I am a bachelor. That's as much to say that fools marry. You'll bear me a bang for that, I fear. Proceed directly. Directly, I'm going to Caesar's funeral. First Plebeian, as a friend or an enemy? Well, as a friend. The matter is answered directly. For your dwelling, briefly. Briefly, I dwell at the capital. And your name, sir, truly? Well, my name is Cinna. Tear him to pieces. He's a conspirator. So just by having the same name, this guy dies. They totally mob him and kill him. Cinna says, I am Cinna the poet. I am Cinna the poet. Tear him to bad verses. Tear him for bad verses. I am not a Cinna the conspirator. It is no matter his name is Cinna. Pluck him by his name out of his heart. Turn him going. Tear him, tear him. Come brands ho. Fire bands to Brutus, to Cassius. Burn all. Some to Decius' house, and some to Casca's. Some to Ligarius's. Away they go. Answer, all exit, carrying off Cinna. All right, so Antony has managed to stir Rome to mutiny, to anger, to mob mentality, that they're so angry they immediately start going after anybody that they can even think might be part of the conspiracy. So here you have a Cinna. His name is Cinna the poet. It's like Matt. They come across another guy named Matt, and they decide to kill him for it. All right? So that ends Act 3. We're going to head into Act 4 next week. Questions are due by midnight tomorrow. I hope this helps you guys kind of answer what's going on. All right? Have a great day, and I'll see you later.